A single father, 45, reared my siblings, 24, male, 22 female, and myself, 26, male. Our father was wonderful, he always put us first and was kind and loving. We never missed our unpaid mother as a result. Despite never dating, my dad even gave up on his romantic life. About 3 years ago, my brother, who is 24, disowned our father for a reason that, to be honest, I would also disavow. My brother discovered our father doing it with his then girlfriend, who is now 27. As a result, my brother moved out of the family to live with some friends after becoming enraged with my dad and cutting him off. My brother ignores my dad despite his best efforts to apologize and make amends. Since then, my dad has endured a great deal and has frequently become irate with us. My brother's residence is known to my sister and me. After we've paid him a few visits, he insists that we tell him. However, we are unable to do so since my brother has threatened to cut off communication with us if we ever tell him. The fact is, that woman became pregnant with twins, but she gave them to my dad because she didn't want to be a mother. Everybody knows that my dad is parenting his grandchildren. He claims they belong to my brother, but given that my brother claims he used protection, I'm positive they do. 2 days ago was the boy's twins' birthday. Since nobody in the family knew what had transpired, my uncle began inquiring into my brother's paternity after he threw a little party. My dad then began disparaging my brother, calling him a bad father and an ungrateful son for abandoning 2 children. Given that everyone in the family looked up to my dad for his sacrifices, I believe my dad is upset with my brother for not forgiving him. They got to chatting about my brother inanities. I would do everything for my dad because I adore him so much. I'm sure my siblings would agree. Yet he made an effort to paint my brother in a negative light. Everyone glanced at my brother, who tried to justify his conduct, but they all ordered him to stop up and beg for more information because they loved him. I told him, he wouldn't have disowned you if you hadn't slept with his girlfriend and got her pregnant. They have since apologized by calling my brother, but my dad is upset with me. He claims I should have kept my mouth shut because this is a family matter. My sister supports my dad, but my wife believes I made the right decision. So, am I the fool here? Not the fool. This is a family problem, he explains. Which household? The one about whose origins he is lying? The one he is attempting to deceive? Or the person he wishes to involve in those lies? In any case, this is only about him making an effort to discredit your brother and hoping that no one will confront him for it. He's still perplexed as to why nobody wants to assist him in getting in contact with the individual. When he had intimate relations with his son's girlfriend, he wasn't considering his family. Rather, he wishes to portray himself as the hero while disparaging his son, whom he deceived. The father of OP needs a reality check. He now has to deal with the fallout from his deed. Pretending to be the year's grandfather when he could be the father is so blatantly hypocritical. Hasn't anyone tested the twins' paternity? The girlfriend doesn't have my trust either. Raising another group of children at his age is your dad's karma if they are his. He cheated on his poor son. Those poor helpless children, a father who is unknown, and a mother who is missing. Your father wants to lie to himself, which is why I'm sure he hasn't taken the DNA test yet. Because his son cut him off as a result of his behavior. Additionally, he wants his family to push your brother back into his life and forgive him, therefore he doesn't want them to support your brother. Therefore, aside from himself and his acts, he has no defense for his current circumstances if he passes the DNA test. Furthermore, he still doesn't believe that he is to blame for anything. I would definitely investigate your father's relationships and parenting style more thoroughly. He is openly playing the martyr after 2 different ladies abandoned their children while they were with him. Despite the fact that he slept with his son's girlfriend. Has he always been so cunning? Could it be that he was a very toxic relationship and that's why he didn't get married when you were growing up? It's strange that even after learning about his abilities, you still speak with him. I recently gave birth to a baby girl with my 32-year-old husband, Jake, and my 29-year-old wife. I refer to recently as last night. I received an invitation to my mother-in-law's house for supper a few weeks ago. I knew precisely what she was going to say when she told me she had an important conversation to have. I apologized, but my mother had already been invited, and I felt awkward not having her there. She held my hand as I sat down and said, "Jake and I have talked, and we think it would be best if I replaced your mother in the delivery room." She said that it wasn't all up to me as she gave my hand a closer squeeze. As an aside, I have never had the best treatment from my mother-in-law. She would constantly make disparaging comments about my skin tone and weight. Reiterating that it was my decision because I was giving delivery, I replied no. After that, the topic was dismissed, but my husband snapped at me on the way home, claiming he had the same decision-making power as me. I'm not on board. I need my mother to be present when I give birth. We both forgot about it when he said, "Fine." I went into labor yesterday. Since my spouse was at his mother's house at the time, I called him first. Then, an hour or so later, I gave my mom a call. She said, my husband said I didn't want her there, and she was astonished to hear from me. As soon as I told her that I did want her there, she arrived. About 20 minutes after my mother arrived at the hospital, my spouse arrived with my mother-in-law. I went utterly crazy. I began berating him and telling him not to come, telling my mother not to come. Then he became irate with me for preventing him from bringing his mother. I finally ordered him to go after he had been yelling at me for roughly 5 more minutes. I declared that I would never want to see him or his mother again. Because of the strain on my body, I'm still not sure if I meant what I said. My mother supported me during the entire process even though the birth got increasingly risky. Not the stupid, and it was wicked of your spouse to have told your mother that you didn't want her there. I'm not sure where you take this 3-way relationship from here. I hope the two of you have a long and happy life together, and congratulations on your new baby. I'm so glad that OP phoned her mother herself because it wasn't only evil, it was also meant to ruin OP's connection with her mother by having her simply not show up, so he can say, "See? My mother was there for you, yours didn't bother to show up when I called." That would be difficult for me to forgive. Being born is not something to see. Every single person in that room is there primarily to help the individual going into labor and to make sure the newborn is healthy when it arrives. His mother has no place there, any more than she has in a men's restroom. Does he make an effort to get his mother to help him when he urinates as well? Men's belief that they are the authority and have an equal voice at birth always baffles me. I would like to know why, while his wife was about to give birth, he was staying at his mother's house. When their mom is supposed to sleep over, who leaves their pregnant spouse alone? Yeah, a mama's boy as well. I feel so bad for you since it seems like they treated you like a car transporting their new baby or grandchild. When your poor mother learned that you didn't want her there and that you were giving birth to a completely different human being, nobody seemed to really give a damn about what you wanted. Yes, I get that you are a married woman with a newborn, but my God, you deserve so much better than this. I apologize. Although my sister and I have quite different parenting styles, I've never found it bothersome. Although our lives are different, we both follow our own paths. Don't let anyone accuse me of being against sleep training, this isn't my opinion. For a few weeks, my sister, her toddler, and infant are staying with us. My brother-in-law's father passed away, and they are remaining in the city to grieve. Although his mother is hosting him, her home isn't large enough for the group. My sister apologized for any noise made at night and informed me that the baby was still in the sleep training phase when they arrived. I advised her to make other plans if he would be sobbing too much because I didn't want that to be a problem. He'd be alright, she said. When they got there, everything was fine until she got him into his evening routine. She continued to check on him around every 10 minutes while he agitated and started wailing right away, as babies do. By utilizing the Ferber method, she tends to him every 10 minutes in order to calm him down. After an hour, she picks him up and repeats the process. My kids did not sleep well, and I was uncomfortable the entire time. He would wail a few times a night even after he'd gone asleep, which would wake us up too. I told her I didn't want to deal with that again the next day. He's normally down to an hour, she said, apologizing. I reiterated that I didn't want to deal with it that night. After 40 minutes, she started up again, and I urged her to hold her baby to quiet him down, or I would. I went in and combed him after she left him for 10 more minutes. She was angry that I was impeding their advancement. After that, he settled down quite easily, though he did wake up a few times to cry. I told him right away on the third night that I wouldn't be enduring his tears. I would tend to him if she allowed him to cry and failed to do so within 10 minutes. I spent the whole of that night tending to him. I told her yesterday that she was not welcome to sleep train at my house and that she would have to either calm him down or they would have to find somewhere else to stay. She became agitated and inquired as to their destination. I answered that either she could just rock her baby through the night like I do, or I didn't know and I'd check with my brother-in-law's family. She was visibly distressed, but last night she calmed him down and stopped weeping. Even still, things are rather tense, and our other sister who lives out of state has informed me that I'm not being kind enough. She is having difficulties since losing her father-in-law. Perhaps not as much as I should. I feel horrible. Even while I know this is okay, I feel horrible for my nephew because I'm seriously ruining their sleep training experience so far. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. Although she is free to choose how she raises her children, it is extremely impolite to expect her to be able to make other people miserable in their own homes. She should be aware that she is staying in someone else's house, and that person doesn't want to hear her baby wail all night, especially when this is interfering with other people's sleep rather than her own. Although I confess to being ignorant about sleep training, there's no reason she can't do this when she gets back home. How impolite of her to think that since she doesn't want to impede their progress, the entire household must endure that much crying. This is child maltreatment. It's an appearance tactic. Being newborns, babies are incapable of self-soothing. When infants cry, they physically require their parents, and leaving them even for 10 minutes at a time teaches them nothing but that they can't rely on their parents to be there for them. It is a terrible myth that must be dispelled. Good to know I'm not the only one who found this sleep training to be appalling. Not her father, but sister's father-in-law passed away. She can't just rob everyone else of their sleep because she's at someone else's house. She also couldn't do it if she checked into a motel. If she stayed at her friend's place, she would not be able to do that. Her situation has changed, so she can't be pushy and force things on other people. Instead, she should wait to do those things until she's back at home with people who will allow her to cry. She should have taken over the role of soothing him the second night. You shouldn't even have gotten up to do it. Please direct her to a hotel. Before I begin, let me make one thing clear. My stepdaughter is my daughter in every manner because we formally adopted her 6 years ago. Since this is how this story began in the first place, I refer to her as my stepdaughter in the title. My wife is 34 years old, and I am 32 years old. After 7 years of marriage, we had 2 boys, a toddler and a little child. Her dad handed up parental rights a few days after Anna Twain was born, and she is not in contact with her at all. Down syndrome affects Anna. The baby's parents have decided they would like to conduct a family photo shoot, and my brother and his wife just had the baby a month ago. My 3 brothers and I showed up at their place dressed well as requested, struck up a photo shoot, and got to work. Photographs of my parents with their boys, each son with a spouse, each son with their own family, mom with just sons, dad with just sons, and so on were taken by a professional photographer. Everything was fine. My mother surprised me by saying, "Can't you just stay with Anna?" when it came time for the grandparents to take a picture with their grandchildren. I asked, "What do you mean?" and she replied, "Well, for this picture, I just want my grandchildren, not your stepchildren. We don't get along well because we live a few hours away." This kind of favoritism is unprecedented from them. I told her that if I didn't, they could snap a photo of all the grandchildren or I would be bringing my kids home, which would leave her missing half of the grandchildren. My dad then came over and supported my mom. They reluctantly took the photo with all the kids after I told her the same thing again. Not long after the photos were taken, we departed. My mother uploaded a picture of them with the children to our group chat a few days later. I just ended the chat and contacted my mother to let her know I doubt we'll be seeing each other very soon. My parents, together with all of their sons and spouses, wrote, "Well, if it's not a perfect picture, all the kids are in it. Both my father and she are in great pain. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. Granny, cry me a river." Consider how your grandchild would feel if she saw that every other child in the picture was not her. I would have advised her to treasure this picture since it is her final chance to see her grandchildren. Dad, you're doing okay. Are they injured? Oh no. That is insignificant in comparison to the harm they could have inflicted upon your daughter simply because she is not related to the other kids by blood. Totally disgusting actions by individuals who should know better. They caused all of the anguish they are experiencing. Although an adopted child doesn't necessarily mean an image with flaws, OP's mother believes that a disabled child does. I'm very sorry your parents are treating your lovely girl unfairly. This is disgusting. I hope that, at the very least, your beautiful family photos weren't ruined by your ugly parents. My fiancé, 25, and I, a 27-year-old man, recently moved in together. We have been dating for a few years now. I am a swing shift corrections officer at a jail, so I don't get home until just after 3 in the morning. I take a combination of weekdays and weekends off as well. She works a more conventional 9-to-5 schedule, Monday through Friday. It had been an especially hectic night when I got home from work the previous night. I'm starving because I hadn't had time to eat. My girlfriend had fallen asleep quickly. She had to work the next day, but I had the day off. I planned to make myself some ramen noodles or a sandwich before turning in for the night. However, there was a pizza box in the refrigerator when I opened it. There were 4 remaining slices of pizza when I looked. I thought that was quite considerate of her. So that I would have something to eat when I got home, she ordered more pizza than she could possibly consume. So I heated up 3 pieces, ate them while watching a MasterChef episode on Hulu, and went to bed. The following morning, just before noon, I received a text from my girlfriend calling me a thoughtless fool for consuming her pizza. She claimed that she had planned to have the remaining pizza for breakfast and lunch the following day. I apologized by text, but I felt that if she didn't want me to eat the pizza, she ought to have left a note on the box or texted me to let me know. In addition, I advised her to order enough food for the 2 of us, since I would do the same for her. I see it this way, since we now share a refrigerator, food is out for grabs, but she's still a little pissed off with me for eating her pizza and acting conceited. Am I the foolish one? That is really conceited. She placed an order for herself for this pizza. You made a mistaken assumption, offered no apologies, and blamed her for eating it. No, I understand that you share a home, but in your relationship, she still gets to maintain her independence. This implies that she shouldn't have to ask permission, think about you, or place an order for you in order to get herself a pizza while you're at work. She can be doing her own thing at her own pace without you, and she doesn't have to be kind all the time. It's you who is the fool. I know how happy I can get about having leftovers later, therefore I would never take leftovers from someone else. On the other side, I'll put a note next to the food if I want to surprise my lover with it or anything else. And why did you just presume that you could take it, if you haven't discussed this already? You didn't own it. Not the fool. Even if things may have changed, I usually assume that couples share even the most insignificant things, like leftover pizza. Although I can appreciate her frustration, I fail to see why she felt the need to refer to you by insults. I'm so sorry for OP. And then he woke up thinking, wow, my girlfriend cares about me. I'm so lucky. She told him he was a fool to think she did.